So today we're going to learn and see how you can determine the identity of an unknown substance by performing a flame test. For this lab, we'll need a Bunsen burner that's hooked up to a gas source and some matches to light that. We're going to need the chemicals that we're testing, and we're going to need some wooden splints. Now these wooden splints are being soaked in some DI water. The soaking is really important because we're going to be holding them into the flame, and we want to see the color that our chemicals are turning the flame. We don't want to see the wood burning, so that's why they're soaking. And the fact that they're in DI water, that's deionized water, is pretty important also. I want you to keep that in the back of your head, and at the end of this lab, you're going to tell me why it's important that we use DI water to soak them as opposed to, say, tap water. How we're going to do this lab is I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper here, and on my piece of scrap paper I will tap out a small amount of the crystal chemical that we're using, and then I will dip my soaked wooden splint in that so that I get some of the solid stuck to the splint and hold it up into the flame. Once that solid is vaporized, we'll see the color that it turns the flame. So if you follow along in the lab handout that you have, we're going to be testing 7 substances and writing down some observations about those. And then we're going to be testing an unknown substance, and we're going to be observing the color of that flame and coming to a conclusion as to the identity of that substance based on its color. So give me just a second. I'm going to turn the lights out and get the Bunsen burner lit, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started. Okay, so I have this Bunsen burner up against a black background so that hopefully we're able to pretty easily pick out the color of the flame, of the substance that it is that we're testing. So we're gonna go in the same order that I have written on your lab handout sheet. And I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly, but if you need to slow down so you can write down observations, you'll notice that some of them have colors that are very similar to one another. So you wanna be really descriptive in the colors and the descriptions that you are writing down. So the first substance that we're going to be testing is barium. This is Ba with a +2 charge. I'm dipping the soaked splint into some of the barium, and I'm going to go ahead and hold it in the flame here for you to see the color of that. So it's kind of this pale yellowish. Notice that if I hold it in there for too long, the splint starts burning, and then we are seeing the color of the wood burning, not necessarily the color of the barium. So let me do that one more time for you. All right, so there's barium, and again, feel free to pause or rewind if you need to see that again. The second substance that we're going to be testing is strontium. This is Sr with a +2 charge. And again, at the end there, we start to see the splint itself burning, which is not what we're interested in. So let me just start a new one here. One more time. So there's strontium. The third substance that we're going to be testing is calcium, Ca, +2 charge. And you'll see that some of these are pretty similar, right? So you need to look at how the substance is behaving in the flame, some of the real big details about the color. Feel free to rewind and go back and rewatch them to compare. Do calcium one more time here. The next chemical is lithium. This one is a deeper red. Next substance is copper. That once more. Next we have sodium. Super bright. Pretty vibrant. And the last of our initial chemicals to test is going to be potassium. I'm going to go get a different thing of potassium to test really quickly. Hold on. Let's try this. It looked like that potassium had some contaminants in it, which can be a pretty big issue with flame tests. The chemicals get contaminated. It's really hard to tell their colors apart. That's a little bit better. So again, this is your potassium. This is the last of the chemicals that you know what they are. Show you one more time. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to test then is an unknown. This will be one of the 7 things that we tested. you're going to have to tell me the identity of the unknown. And I realize many of them look similar. So try to really focus in on some of those details if you can't tell which of the substances it is. Also, you'll have some extra clues in the next part of this where you look at the emission spectra of each of these substances. So you can use that as another way to help you identify which of the substances is the identity of the unknown. So here is the unknown substance I'm testing. I'll show you that one more time. All right, so there you have it, some flame tests. Again, I realize that especially on video, the colors can be pretty hard to tell apart, so please do the best you can as far as writing down descriptions for them. And in the next part, you're also going to be looking at the emission spectra of each of these substances. So you'll have that to refer to as well when you're trying to identify the identity of that unknown substance.